I have a question for you. Do you have any rituals before you get up to speak, whether it's a keynote talk, a workshop, a less formal presentation? Well, if you don't, you might be missing out. Today, we're going to take a quick look at how our expectations influence our outcomes. Now, no guest for this short episode, other than a guest book, having just recently completed The Expectation Effect by David Robson, which I can highly recommend. I want to talk a little bit about how rituals may be able to help put you into a positive performance state and can be powerful performance triggers for you. Now, if you'd like to set yourself up for success with your talks and your presentations, we'll find out today if I can convince you to add a little ritual to your pre-performance routine. Welcome to Present Influence, the show that helps coaches, speakers, and communication professionals develop the skills to impact, influence, and inspire. My name's John Ball, keynote coach, professional speaker, and your guide on this journey to mastery-level presentation skills. My mission is to provide professional communicators like you with everything you need to maximize your impact and present with influence. Follow the show on your favorite podcast app for weekly episodes and interviews with influence experts. And join me on LinkedIn weekly for the Present Influence newsletter. If you haven't already done so, please do leave the show a 5-star review on your podcast app, which will help other people to know that this could be a good show for them too. But I love to read, and I do love to give good book recommendations. And a book that I have just completed this week, based on a recommendation from a coach that I really respect, it's called The Expectation Effect by David Robson. Now, one of the things I particularly love about this book is that I think for years in personal development, certainly in the areas that I've been working in, often talk about how expectations go on to create your outcomes for you, and that it's good to have positive expectations and to set yourself up for success. The Expectation Effect book does show us things like how our beliefs around things like aging, health, wellness in general kind of even affect our longevity. So I do think it's probably something we want to check out. How things like ideas can be contagious in a negative way, that a whole group of people could get sick when there's no illness around based on the concept of an illness that they may have seen on a TV show. These are things that have happened. How things like the placebo effect and the nocebo effect might really work with us, and that having an awareness of the fact that you even know what the side effects of something might be or what the positive effect of taking something is supposed to be can influence us in unexpected ways. One of the things that comes up in the book is about professional speaking and having some kind of ritual before you actually get up to present on a stage. And I do think this is a powerful thing. I have had a ritual for speaking as a speaker for a long time now, something that I find particularly helpful. There is a routine that I go through. It's not superstitious. I'm not a superstitious person. It's not spiritual. I'm not particularly a spiritual person. But it is a practical routine that helps put me in a peak and optimal state for when I'm about to get on stage. So it will involve, for me, things like playing some great music from a playlist that helps to get me pumped up. It will involve a little bit of mindset work, focusing myself to make sure that I remember that I want to serve my audience, get out my own way, try and turn down my ego a little bit before I go out on stage, get ready to have fun. I set an intention for what I want to do. And I put myself into what we call the presenter state, where I go into a sort of an expanded awareness state, which is how I want to be hitting the stage. I do all of that before I actually get up to speak. What this book is suggesting is that if we have our rituals, and maybe it is something like what I talked about, or maybe it is a prayer, or maybe it is rubbing your lucky coin, or whatever it is for you, that those things can help to mentally set us up for a better experience, because we feel then that there is an expectation that something good will be delivered. Whereas if we don't do that, or something interferes with that particular process, we may find ourselves having a less than optimal experience. Now, I know for things like when I do learning and workshops and things like that, it can be really good to have a sort of opening ritual for creating that learning mindset and a closing ritual. Say, all right, we're going to stop learning now and free ourselves up to go and have fun and socialize. And so we change the emotional states with a little bit of ritual. If we can utilize ritual in these positive ways, then there's no real reason why we shouldn't all have some kind of pre-presentation routine that helps to give us optimal results and psychologically sets us up with the expectation of success, which is probably never a bad thing. Now, one of the things that I particularly loved with this book, it made me think a lot about one of my favorite books, which is The Luck Factor by Dr. Richard Wiseman. I love The Luck Factor so much because it's this whole concept of that if we believe that we are lucky, we will be lucky. We'll take more chances. We'll act more in alignment with the belief that we're lucky. We'll start those conversations with random people. We'll enter more competitions because we believe that we're going to be lucky. If we have the converse belief of being unlucky, we're far more likely to be protective, shielded, and less looking for opportunity, but more looking to shield ourselves from potential risks, to maybe be less seen, to notice less things, because we kind of close ourselves off. Whereas with the lucky belief, we open ourselves up more. So there is a lot to be said for having these expectations and beliefs that set us up for better, more optimal results. I do recommend checking out The Expectation Effect and indeed The Luck Factor. That's a book that's been around for a long while, and it still remains one of my favorite books because I found that particularly transformational to know that there is no magical or mysterious force at play here, that luck is a belief that we have. Success in our outcomes can be a belief that we have. At least we can strongly influence those outcomes and set ourselves up for better results just by creating these expectations. I got to have a conversation today with Chris Marr, who is the author of The Authoritative Coach. And we were talking a little bit about these kinds of expectations that we set for each other, like the way you get introduced to your audience, that want to have control over that to make sure that you set their expectation, that they're getting an expert, they know who they're getting, and it also gives you that thing to live up to. But even just being on the platform puts you in that expert position. We want to make sure that we then come over with the confidence and the competence to be able to deliver on that when we're on the platform. So there is a strong element of mindset work and ownership that needs to be done beyond that as well. We're not just saying, oh, do this ritual and everything's going to go magic for you. This is just about optimizing your outcomes. You still have to put in the work. You still have to earn the right. You still have to show up and deliver for your audiences. So it doesn't take away any of that. As much as we might not always like it, there's really only the hard work and put in the time and effort to this. But there is also, even with all of that, things like imposter syndrome, things where we get in our own way, our negative beliefs start to sprout up, especially in high stress situations. So if we can utilize ritual, if we can utilize our own beliefs, and to know that by setting ourselves up with being in environments where we feel more supported and encouraged, that's also going to help. Making sure that you have things in place that are going to help you feel supported. Being able to take a step back sometimes and have a little detachment from what you're doing in general can put you in a position to be able to see where there may be opportunities for you to improve your mental performance. So it's so essential that we take responsibility for performing as optimally as we can. And if there are opportunities to set ourselves up for a bit more success with that, and to give ourselves some conscious and unconscious expectations, that we are likely to see stronger, better results coming from the things that we do. If you don't already have one, what would be or could be your pre-presentation ritual that you might want to start thinking about putting in place to help you improve your outcomes so that you're not just showing up and going straight up on stage. You are setting your own expectations, maybe even setting your audience expectations before a word has even been said from the stage. That's pretty much it for me. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I hope that the book recommendations are interesting for you. Next week, I'm talking to Emily Schneider, who is a professional in visual storytelling. She helps professional speakers create powerful slide decks that become an art form really within the presentation and add value. And I always say this thing, people always ask me, should we have slide decks? Is it something we should avoid? I am always of the opinion that you should and can have slides if it adds to your presentation. Emily is someone who helps to make sure that that is the case. So please do make sure you join us for that episode. If you haven't already checked out my interview with Brian Haidt, stuntman psychologist, the high performance whisperer, You definitely want to go and check that out. Lots of really good value stuff in there, things that are staying with me that I've taken away from that conversation as well. I'll probably revisit some of those elements in solo episodes in the future too. Last week's episode with Cam Bodwin about demo reels. We've got so many amazing guests at the moment and some really exciting ones coming up for you that I can't wait to bring you. And consistently interviewing, pre-interviewing lots of great guests. I'm definitely looking forward to bringing you the interview with Chris Marr, Judy Carter, and a bunch of other people as well. So please do make sure you're following the show for the interview shows, for solo episodes. And if coaching is part of what you do professionally, then please make sure that you are also following the Coaching Clinic podcast with myself and Angie Besignano, where we have lots of great chats about how to manage and set up your coaching business and your practice to make sure you're always growing, developing, and successful as a coach. That's it from me for this week. Wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, have an amazing rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend. I will see you next time. Take care.